Thank you. Please have a seat. Welcome to the first athletic assembly of the year. So tonight is a night for you and your teammates. You will hear short season recaps. Some players will receive individual awards. And most importantly, your coaches will present every one of you with a team pin to commemorate your season. But before your coaches come up and say some nice things about your team and your season, on behalf of all of us in this room, I'd like to give a big thank you to some people, to a lot of people actually, as it takes a big group effort to make things work. So first of all, I'd like to thank all of you in advance for the perfect comportment you are about to show. So thank you for looking sharp in your school uniform and your Major S sweaters. Thank you for the respect you will show every single speaker and every single team. Also, thank you for switching off your phones. Please do that now. Thank you. Thank you to Miss Perot and Miss Perron in the health center, and to our physiotherapists, Miss Boudreau and Miss Laney, for being the dedicated medical professionals that they are. Thank you to Mr. McDonald and Miss Robitaille for supervising the intramural program. Thank you to Mrs. All right, thank you to Mrs. Wilkinson and Miss Nikki Campbell for running outdoor pursuits. Thank you to the maintenance departments, the folks in the laundry, Mark, Mario, and Josh at the arena, all of our drivers, all of our kitchen staff who work with us, not for us, to make sure that all of our program needs are provided for. And trust me, all those people are not just punching a clock here at Stanstead waiting for the end of the day. They go the extra mile for you guys all the time because they care about you. Thank you to Mrs. Wolf, who helps me in athletics. And thank you to the woman who really runs it all, Miss Alta Sheldon. This is Alta's, actually, she had a birthday, I think a week ago, and she has been here, this is her 43rd year at Stanstead College. And although, and Miss Alta, I'm not expecting you to stay for 43 more years. I just humbly ask that you stay here until I retire, and then you're free to go. That's it. Finally, a thank you to your coaches, not just for their commitment to your program, but because they are always trying to make your athletic experience as memorable as possible. Your coaches are going to be thanking you tonight, but I hope you take the time to thank them as well. So, a big round of applause to all those people I just mentioned, the people who made the first sports term of the year really happen. Thank you to everyone. So, without further ado, let's kick things off. First program of the night, Bantam Girls Soccer, Mrs. Smith.
Good evening, everyone. I first of all want to take a minute to just thank everyone who made this season possible for us. Mr. Van Dyke and Mrs. Wolf, thank you so much. Your organization, suggestions, and constant support, we're truly grateful for it. Laundry, maintenance, drivers, health center, and of course, Miss Alta. Thank you to everyone who makes this season possible. So it's really easy to talk about a successful team, a team that's loaded with superior athletes, a team that wins, a team that has all sorts of highlight reel moments. But it's a lot tougher to speak about a team that hasn't had a very successful season. So I get to speak to you tonight about the Bantam Girls Soccer team. And yes, I get to talk to you about what it's like to be part of that team that didn't win a single game. That team that didn't score a single goal all season long. And yet tonight, I also get to speak to you about a team that was successful in so many other ways. Excuse me. A team that showed character and integrity, heart and determination, common themes here at Stanstead. And I get to tell you all about this team, a group of young athletes who truly embody those characteristics, a team that never quit trying all season long. So what's it like to play on a team that struggles? Well, it's tough, and quite frankly, it kind of stinks. But what made this season different was attitude. It didn't matter who missed the pass. It didn't matter who might have been out of position. It didn't matter who might have gotten burned by that forward for the 8th time in the half. What mattered was that we kept on trying, we kept on getting better, and we kept on supporting each other all season long. I want to share some highlights with you. When you're Bantam, the first major highlight is usually the first time you eat out. So the first team supper at McDonald's with coupons, which meant you could eat twice as much. The last team supper at Chewy Louie's in Sherbrooke, followed by ice cream at Chocolat Favori. And trust me, if you don't know what this is, try it out. It's totally worth it. Playing at home and showing off for our cheering fans and spectators. Playing in Richmond in our best, and I mean best, game of the season. It was cold and windy, and maybe that's what we needed. Because we worked, we ran, we passed, we even got a number of shots on net, and we made saves. And in the second half, we kept the ball out of the net. It was a shutout half for us. And no joke, you would have thought that we had won the game when you watched the post-game celebration. This is what I meant when I said our season was successful. Moments like this that demonstrate that winning isn't everything. So following this game, the referee came to speak to Miss B and I, and he commented on how impressed he was with the positivity of our girls. He knew how our season had gone, and he was thoroughly impressed with this team that had been getting their butts kicked repeatedly over the course of the season, yet they'd never given up. He was impressed with the positivity and the way they supported each other. So to each and every one of the girls on the Bantam team, you should be very proud of your accomplishments this year. For some of you, this was a brand new experience. You'd never played on a soccer team, ever. Others amongst you had played some soccer, maybe on the school team last year, maybe a couple of seasons in a summer league. But rest assured, the total number of years of soccer experience for all 11 of these girls was probably less than 10. Needless to say, on day 1 of practice, we were starting at square one. So our goal for the season was to improve and to try and win a game. Well, while we didn't ever win, we most definitely did improve. Highlight number 5. At our second to last practice, we scrimmaged against the juniors, something we'd done a number of times over the season, but this time we tied them. And what I want to stress here is not that we tied the juniors, because they have improved as well, but we had improved. And we'd made progress, and we'd finally seen positive results. So in a 30-minute game, with no goals scored against us, we had just won the World Cup. Congratulations, girls, on a most successful season for all the right reasons. You showed Spartan character, heart, and determination, characteristics that will remain with you for a lifetime. Please come up and get your team pins. So to finish off, we want to recognize our award winners, and we're presenting 3 awards tonight. I'd like to have all the recipients please come together at the end. Our first award this evening is the Sportsmanship Award, and I'm sure that the winner will not be a surprise to anyone who's been around the team this year. Full of heart, full of enthusiasm, always willing to help out, and an ever-present leader amongst the girls. She worked so hard and never wanted to play poorly for fear of letting her teammates down. She truly was our heart and soul, and is our most deserving recipient of the Sportsmanship Award, Ella Udo. Our first Bantam S goes to the player who came into camp as the most fit and clearly the most skilled player. However, what set her apart from the get-go was the fact that she never slacked off in games, or more importantly, in practices. She never once quit, and she always did her best to continue to improve not only her own skills, but also of those around her. It would have been easy for her to get discouraged with our losses and complain, and yet she did the opposite. She worked harder. She was supportive, and she helped her teammates all season long. It's for these reasons that our first Bantam S goes to Gloria Riddle. Our second Bantamess is a no-brainer. If you recall, this young woman was named at the Stanstead as the Stanstead Athlete of the Week not long ago, and it's for these same reasons that she's our final award winner tonight. It's not easy to constantly pick the ball out of the back of the net, 105 times to be exact. She did it day in and day out. But let me tell you, she managed to save at least 3 times that many shots in our 8-game season. Hardworking, ever smiling, never doubting, and always giving 110%, our final award winner is Christine Breton.
Oh, thank you. All the way up there.
Easy, Ella. You gotta give it back. You gotta give it back. Next program to be recognized, Bantam Boys Soccer, Mr. Liverpool.
Good evening, everyone. Another season's over, and what an interesting one it's been. When I first stepped on the field a few months ago, I would never have thought that we'd have such a challenging season. We had our share of success, but we've also had our fair share of problems as well. Most notably, when we took to the field against the top teams in our league. However, as a small school with around 40 students in grades 7 and 8 combined, I think it's important not to lose sight of the fact that we are competing against much larger schools whose student population allowed them the opportunity to select only the best players and in some cases even field 2 teams. Although we may all feel a little disappointed with the wins and losses that we accumulated this season, it's important to remember that we've learned some valuable lessons, and I hope that we had a little bit of fun along the way as well. One of the great things about this sport at this level is that there's always room for improvement. We can all work on doing something just a little bit better. When everyone does that, the results can be amazing. And if there's one thing I know about each and every one of you guys on this team this year, it's that there isn't any one of you that wouldn't give his all for the team. I couldn't possibly end without saying thank you to our athletic director, Mr. Van Dyke, Miss Alta, and all of the parents who attended our games. It's really kind of fun, especially in a boarding school, to see familiar faces, familiar adult faces, in the crowd when you're at home games and away. So thank you very much for those parents that attended. And most importantly, you, the players. You guys did a wonderful job. It wasn't always easy, but you never quit, and that's the key, I think, to anything that you're ever going to do in life. I really do appreciate all that you guys have done this season. Thanks to all of you players for turning up for practices and games, come rain or shine. Not that I'm that old, but there is an old saying that says, it matters not if you win or lose, but how you play the game. And it's an honor and a privilege to be associated with a group of young men who play the game with such love, passion, and enjoyment. Thank you, guys. sorry, say again? But I can just call it MS. Okay. So just a few individual awards to pass out now. I think I'll start with the Sportsmanship Award. Now, if I'm to be completely honest with you, and this is not hyperbole, MK, what's the definition of hyperbole, sorry? It's an exaggeration. Thank you very much for paying attention in class. I appreciate that. That's teaching and learning at its finest right there, folks. Thank you very much. I could have awarded this prize to pretty much any member of this team. However, after painstaking deliberation, based on his positive attitude, his warm smile, and his willingness to place the team's agenda above his own, this year's Bantam Boys Soccer Sportsmanship Award goes to William Big Will Towner. Yeah. And on to the next two individual awards, the Bantam S. An extremely athletically gifted young man. We relied heavily on Dominic to lead the way this season. He was a team captain and our leading scorer, and Dominic proved that he was up to the challenge. As a second-year Bantam, Dominic relied on his experience and his leadership abilities to get the most out of each and every one of his teammates, each and every game. Not quite sure where we would have ended up without his presence, but it gives me great pleasure to award this Bantam S to Dominic Pecora. And lastly, reliable, sturdy, and dependable. Just a few of the words that I found myself using every time I spoke of this next young man. As a key member of our last line of defense, this young man proved that even as a first-year player, he was a force to reckon with. As a coach, regardless of sport, having that one player that I can count on to be in the right places at the right times and do the right things is something that I try to never take for granted. This young man often displayed his intelligence in understanding the right thing to do and the athletic ability to get it done. It is once again with great pleasure that I award a Bantam S to Baron Lovejoy.
Junior girls soccer, Mr. G.
Thanks. I think it was Marty Lefebvre who asked me during the Terry Fox run, he's like, "So, sir, did you break out the baby doll with the junior girls yet?" And those of you who were here last year remember that I taught the junior girls how to pass and catch using a little baby doll. It was a little unorthodox, but it worked. The answer is, of course not, Marty. I'm not going to teach a soccer team how to kick using a baby. I don't know what you were thinking, but we could have used a little magic this year. The junior girls had a tough year for sure. We won 1 game, we lost 7, and we tied 1. So we lost 7 out of 9 games. It's what you would call a losing season. So losing Yep. Losing season sounds harsh, but it is what it is. You know it, Coach. So I'm thinking, what can I teach all of us here tonight about a losing season? What can you guys, all of you, learn? Not just my team. What can you all learn from a losing season? So there's 3 things. I'll be quick. First, the other team, believe it or not, has a right to win the game, right? Like, it sounds a little officious, but look, we played Galt, we lost 11-0. Then we played them again and we lost 7-0. And then we played them again and we lost 6-0. You know, you're thinking maybe you don't want to play them anymore, right? But we're in a league, and we don't just hand first place over to the other team because we think they're good. They have the right to actually play their games out. We have fixtures, right? We've got to meet our commitments. So we're part of a league, and that's good for the whole sport and every school. So, okay, yeah, they feel good. The more important part of this is you don't have the right to be mad about that. And that's sportsmanship right there. I was talking to Julia McClellan today after her speech, and she told me this kind of crazy story about how a former coach of hers actually refused to shake her hand last year when her team beat that coach's team, like 7-0 or something. And I was blown away by that. I'm like, what? And she's like, yeah, I think he was kind of mad. I'm like, wow. You don't have the right to be like that just because you lose, right? So that's kind of point number 1 is good sportsmanship. Everybody hates a sore loser. And yes, the other team won fair and square because they're a better team. That's the team you're trying to be. There's nothing wrong with that. Actually, on the sidelines, I can be heard complimenting the other team, saying, wow, what a pass. Or, man, their defense is so good. The first touch, we just can't put a ball through these guys. They're unbelievable. And they can hear me. Right? The other team can actually hear me complimenting them, so they're like, wow, he's not a crazy coach. Like, he's actually kind of nice, right? So they don't become all arrogant and in our face or anything, and our own bench can hear me, and they say, wow, okay, he recognizes good soccer when it's being played, even if it's not by our team, right? So that's point number 1. Be a good sport. Number 2 is, there's plenty of good things happening on the field, even if you're not scoring goals. So this requires a little bit of maturity, right? So for us coaches and you players, you have to change the narrative. Just don't look at the final score. It doesn't matter that much. Trust me, in 10 years, when you're looking back on your high school career after the 40, 50, 60, 80, 100 games you've played, you're not going to remember the scores. You're not. I don't. I don't remember the scores from my high school games. I remember the feeling, the team feeling that I had with my buddies on the team and my coach, if he made me feel good. Like, those kind of things are longer lasting than the actual scores. So change the narrative. There's plenty of good things happening. In other words, I'll give you an example. We focused this year on defense because we couldn't score goals. So we focused on preventing the other team from scoring against us as much as we could. We worked on a pivoting style defense. We have 3D, so if one of them jumps up, the other two have to pivot behind her in case she gets burned. There's always somebody behind her to cover her. And the girls got good at this, and they covered each other, and they got good at it. So that's something that we can focus on that not many people would notice in a game, right? Because it's not a lot happening. Often the girl's not getting burned, and you don't see the two behind her shifting behind her just to be there in case something goes wrong, right? But we work on that in practice, and we execute it in the game, and it's a small success, even though we're losing 4-0 or whatever the score is, okay? Point number 3 is, even if you are losing, go into what I call damage control mode. In other words, you're losing by 3, try not to lose by 4, right? You're losing by 4, don't give up, try not to lose by 5. So why this is important is 2 reasons. 1, there's a life lesson. I think you heard Julia talk a little bit about it this morning. It's not how many times you get knocked down, it's how many times you get up, right? It sounds like a prefix speech, but it's true. Life is full of adversity, so how many times don't quit. Why it's important, here's a concrete reason why. BCS beat us, we beat them 2-1, first game. They beat us 1-0, and then in the last game we were tied 1-1. So we're tied for 3rd place in the league. What's the tie break? Goals against. Because we focused on limiting the goals against, we got into a semifinal and BCS didn't, right? That's the long-term sort of lesson to never giving up, even if it's 4-0. Don't let it be 5. You could always, there's a long-term sort of impact to this season here. Let's keep thinking of positive and thinking ahead. So in that semifinal, we ended up against the Massey Vanier team who had beaten us 7-2, 6-0, and 1-0. We ended up tied 1-1. We played through overtime, still tied. We went to the 7th penalty shooter on the very same day that the senior girls went to their 7th penalty shooter. What a crazy coincidence, you know? On the same day, on the same field. And the senior girls won and we lost ours. But ours did not feel like a loss. To be totally honest with you, if you look at our goals against kind of slope, right? It's like an objective metric to how well our season went. We started with a lot of goals against, fewer and fewer and fewer and fewer, and eventually ended up tied against the team who had kicked our ass, right? Earlier in the season. So that's how I measure success in a losing season. That's how you turn a losing season into a memorable season. Come on up and get your pins. Shake your hand. Reach. Go, Vic. Reach. You look at the home. Repeat. Okay. Feels like I'm giving away Halloween candy over here. Just before I give out the awards, I want to make an honorable mention to Anki Peng. Anki showed up on our team having not played a lot of sports, I'm guessing, and certainly not any soccer. She took something that I coached throughout the season very seriously. At one point I said, look, Anki, if you're not the fastest girl out there, it doesn't matter. And even if you get burned by some girl that's got like dirty feet, fancy feet, and pushes the ball past you, there's always something you can do. Just kind of impede her progress. Put your body in her way, which will allow our defense to get to the ball first. So Anki took this a little too literally. Our team hated practicing against her because she would actually smash into girls and like take out their shins and like step on their feet. I'm not kidding, right? At one point she even pancaked Mariama. Like, bam. Landed on top of Mariama. I'm like, yeah, I know, I feel your pain. And she did this throughout the season too against other teams. I'm stunned that she didn't end up with yellow and red cards, like every game. She even has a cool thug name, Anki, right? As in, hey, boss, don't worry about it. You tell Fat Tony, we got a secret weapon. We're gonna go to our bench. We're gonna put in Anki. I love you, Anki. I think you're amazing. I love the grit and the determination you play with. You are going to love rugby. You got to try out. All right, so 5 awards, 1 sportsmanship, and 4 junior S's. The sportsmanship goes to Antonia von Frankenstein because I pulled her out of net. I pulled Leah out of nets after 3 games because I thought she could be more useful in the midfield, and I put Antonia back there. Nobody on our team wanted to play goalkeeper. No one. And I kind of forced Antonia because I had a hunch that she might be good at this, and she ended up pretty good at it. But after every single game, I would ask her, so Tony, you feeling it yet? You feeling like a goalkeeper? She's like, deadpan, no. Just no. That's it, right? So after every game, I'm like, well, that's too bad because you're still playing nets next game. So yeah, you were a great sport, Tony, and thank you for doing that when no one else would step up. You did. Thank you very much for that. So, sportsmanship award. The 4 junioresses, first goes to Mariama, who probably has the highest motor I've ever seen. If you don't know what that is in sports, it means she never gets tired. She can be at one end trying to set up a goal-scoring chance, and then before I know it, I blinked, and all of a sudden she's back with our defense, playing defense, and she's doing this back and forth all game long, never getting substituted. She was unbelievable, and you're a big reason why we kept the goals against low. So congratulations, Mariama, juniorette. And you've already heard Mr. Van Dyke talk about the fence in defense, and these 3 girls played amazing defense. Once I figured it out, it took me a few games to get the combination right on defense. We were playing with 4D and it didn't work. They were kind of stepping on each other and getting in each other's way. It didn't quite work. I finally went to a 3D system and it worked really well. Our goals against came way down. You girls were really smart, and it's one thing to play smart individually, but to play as a unit is a whole nother thing, right? You guys got to communicate. I wish I had film of you guys playing D, because I could show it to next year's team and tell them this is how it should be done. So Joliane, Farfan, and Tammy, all 5 of you, come on up. Just one last thing to Mr. Van Dyke and to Alta. You guys run a really tight ship. Thank you very much.
The next program to be recognized, junior boys soccer, Mr. Vanasse.
All right, so I'd like to start with the usual thank yous. The Health Center, of course, Alta, who keeps us on track, myself and the team with everything prepared. Mr. Van Dyke for all his help and all the scheduling that he does. The last thank you will go to my co-coach this year, Mr. Thomas, who volunteered to help out the junior boys, and he was really a great help for the team. I know the boys appreciated having you, and I certainly did. By the end of the year, you were making great suggestions, both for the team, maybe some players we should get in, so that was a great job. And also, there was 2 games that I couldn't be there. Coach Thomas filled in. We won both those games, so that's a pretty good record. He had a 2-0 record, so thank you for all your help. So the Junior Boys Soccer League has 6 teams, so we play against 5 of the teams. You play each team twice, so we had 10 games. Right away from the start of tryouts, I knew we had a pretty special group. We had a lot of very strong returning players, a lot of new players that came in with quite a bit of skill. So we got off to a pretty fast start. In our first 6 games, we won 5 of them, and we tied 1 against Alexander Galt. So then we ran into the October break. So with the staff prefect game and going on the break, we hadn't practiced in a little while, and not to make excuses, but it was tough. We came back, we hopped on a bus, and we went to Alexander Galt. So we kind of knew right away going into that game that the winner would ultimately win the championship banner. So I was a little worried, considering we hadn't played in a while, and unfortunately, we got pretty bad. I believe it ended up being 6-2. We were never really in the game, and it was really a tough one. So did I mention how much I want to thank Mr. Van Dyke for his scheduling? It was really a lot of help. I appreciate it. Then we had 3 games left. We ended up winning all 3 of those. So we finished with an 8-1-1 record in the regular season, which is pretty impressive. We ended up with the same amount of points as Galt, but unfortunately, since they beat us, we finished in 2nd place. So this set up a semi-final here at home against Salesian. So we were down 2-0 in that game at half. We were also down 3-2, came back, tied the game up, and I thought it was a pretty neat Stanstead College Spartan moment because all the practices kind of finished as we were going into overtime. So our game goes into overtime, goes down to 9-on-9. There's some chances both sides, no one scored, and it went into penalty kicks. So most of you saw it. Our keeper Diego made some great saves. Our shooters made some good kicks, and we even prematurely celebrated at one point, but that's junior boys soccer. So that game set us up for the final on the last Friday against, you guessed it, Alexander Galt. So this is a team we hadn't beat all year, so we had all week to practice. We were pretty ready to go into that game and, you know, show them how we'd improve throughout the year. So that game on the last Friday of the season was tied at half 0-0, pretty even. We went into the second half. I thought we played quite a bit better than them. Fortunately, which was the case in some of our games, we couldn't find the back of the net. We weren't able to score. So once again, this went into overtime. Goes down to 9-on-9. We had two fantastic chances. One hit the post, another one we just couldn't finish. So once again, it went into penalty kicks. Unfortunately, this time we were on the wrong side of it. We ended up losing in penalty kicks. But I will say this, it was a pretty special group of young men that we had this year at junior soccer. Not once did I hear any of them complaining about all the running we did in practice, practicing in the rain, or really anything for that matter. So they were a pretty special group, and with an 8-1-1 record and really losing in penalty kicks, which is like a 50-50 thing, right? You guys had a great season, so thank you for all you did this year, and please come up and get your pins. So I'll be giving out 4 awards tonight. I'll ask all 4 of them to come up when I'm finished speaking, please. So as you know, everyone gives out a sportsmanship award, and I had a tough time choosing it this year, actually. And that's actually a really good thing, because as I said earlier, I had a really special team. So many good young men, you know, they all worked hard, rarely complained. So in this kind of moment where I wasn't sure who to choose, I reached out to a former colleague, many of, you know, a lot of the teachers will know, and Mr. Graham Peach Chandler. He is really the ultimate sportman, in a sense that there's a sportsmanship award named after him that is presented at baccalaureate, and he's a special coach. If you ask Mr. Standage or Mr. Simard, I mean, he never threw his cap in frustration. He never made his teams run after they won games. He, you know, never yelled at his players. He's really the ultimate sportman. So really, I mean, I reached out to him for advice, and the advice he gave me is 2 important things for the sportsmanship award, and that's effort and attitude. And I couldn't agree more. And these 2 young men that are going to get the sportsmanship award really showed, as new players on the team, great leadership as well, but also an effort where they came every day ready to work, and also an attitude where, you know, they were always happy, always had a smile on their face, and they were a lot of fun to be around. So that's Peter Burfitt and Thierry Bernier. There will also be 2 junioresses, so if you had a chance to watch any of our games. Probably won't come as a surprise who these two players were. They're both returning players. They were a big part of our team last year, big part of our team, of course, this year. And you know, one of them played midfield. Well, actually, both played midfield last year, and I tasked them with, you know, being the pillars of our defense at the back end and trying to limit the other team's scoring. And you know, they weren't tasked with scoring goals. They did add in a few goals here and there, but they really were the pillars of defense, and they did a great job in controlling that. They're both great leaders, great people to be around, and once again, it's my honor to present the two S's to Jaden Mullins and to Alexi Daniel.
It's the first program of the night that can give out Major S awards and an MVP trophy. And for those new to the school this year, here at Stanstead College, we recognize Major S awards and trophy winners with a standing ovation. So if that time comes, we all give a standing ovation to that winner. Speaking proudly for the cross-country running team, Miss Reynolds.
I don't know if it's proudly, but I'll do my best. Jackie Howard. iPhones, iPads put away? Yes? Good? Perfect. Just making sure, because we had to bring them to practice, every practice, so just making sure they're put away. Good. Okay, so we came with a mixed bag of runners. Obviously, we had those that have been running for years, ones with tons of experience, some with some basic knowledge, some who decided to try running for the very first time. So some were naturals, some not so much. For example, we had Rosie, who'd been running for a long time, nothing much I could really teach her, let's be honest. Then on the other end of the spectrum, we had somebody like Henry, who decided in his last year, hey, I'm going to decide to try running. He was really, really happy when I told him that the running distance for senior boys was 6K. Yeah, I think I had one of these. Yeah, I can't do that. So I explained to him and everybody else, it doesn't matter if you can run your race distance right from the beginning. We're going to work on it. All I'm asking for is improvement and effort. So some were hardworking and some not. Not everybody has that innate running ability, but what many lacked in the knowledge made up for in heart. So the season began with baseline testing to see what everybody could do. Some were good, some not. So the weather was incredibly uncooperative for us throughout the entire season. We started out really, really hot, couldn't run because it was so hot. Then the end of the season came and it was so cold and rainy and muddy, we couldn't run then either. So the season progressed. We worked on trail runs, hill sprints, short distance intervals, long distance runs, body weight movements, and then just plain old intervals, and everybody just loved those. So the runners had to put up with absolutely everything and deal with it, but after a ton of hard work, heart, and ability, the team came in second overall in the league, which is absolutely fantastic. Some particular thank yous go out to Alta and Mr. Van Dyke, to Nam for taking attendance every day, Fred for leading stretching sessions every day, and to my co-coach, Mr. Bryant, for being a great support to everybody. But the biggest thank you goes to all of you guys for coming to practice with an open mind, a willingness to improve. To those that honestly put in the work, needless to say, you did see improvement, which is, if you remember what I said at the beginning of the season, was all I was really looking for. So congratulations on a great season, and come on up and get your pins. Yeah, it's a big team. It takes them a long time to all sit down. Yeah, it always took us a long time to get going at practice, too. So for the awards, at the Bantam level, for putting in effort every day, day in, day out, coming to practice with a smile on her face. She scored points for the team at every meet. One of only 2 Bantam-age runners on the team, very hard-working and a genuine enthusiasm to do her best. Bantam S goes to Ken Kasugi. Come on up. At the junior level, a junior S is being awarded to a runner with natural athletic ability. He was very hard on himself when he didn't make the top 3 in his division. Generally hardworking and for having a great spirit. Come on up, Rihito Hamano. At the senior level, I'm going to ask these next 3 athletes to come up together. The Sportsmanship Award is being given to a senior athlete who's very dedicated, is always eager to help out, and works hard to improve. His positive outlook and demeanor were greatly appreciated throughout the season. Congratulations goes to Fred Mignot for the 2nd year in a row. Senior S awards are being given out to 2 athletes. The first is a returning runner who put in a lot of time over the summer to improve. She actually ran a division up as she wanted to challenge herself this year. Even though she is junior age, she competed at the senior division and always finished 2nd or 3rd in her division. Alyssa Shimada. And the last senior S goes to a student who, again, is a natural athlete, but put in work and improved even further throughout the season. He's very coachable and ready to set the bar for his teammates. A senior S goes to Dante Pellegrino. Come on up, guys. The last 2 awards are being given to the most accomplished and gifted runner on the team. She came to the team with a lot of experience and was willing to give advice to those that asked her. She came in 1st at every one of our EDAC races, 3rd in the regionals, and 15th at provincials. Please help me to congratulate by standing Rosemary Ladouceur as we award her not only with a major S, but also the William Green Shields Memorial Trophy for excellence and leadership in cross-country running.
The next program to be recognized, Senior Boys Soccer, Mr. Simard.
All right. Okay, a couple of things. Am I allowed to thank Alta this year? Go ahead. Okay, thank you, Alta. The other thing I wanted to mention is you're all looking very sharp in your fetching red ties, your smart red jackets for the girls, and then I look at this dace. Ms. Smith, well done. Mr. Simard, well done. And a couple of others. At an event like this, we show our color, like you show your color. So please keep that in mind. And I want to particularly point out our headmaster and this English teacher on the end with the light blue. I think there was a contest between Mr. James Ryu and Mr. Murray about the new logo, the new color, and so on, and they wanted powder blue. They were going to be the Stanstead Powder Blue Blobs, and actually they put it up there. That was going to be the logo of the school. So we received a number of emails from our athletic leader, Mr. Van Dyke, wearing yellow. And so next time, hopefully he'll get that one on there. Okay, now you can start my time. That was just current events. Season 2018 for the senior boys soccer. A couple of words come to mind: cold and wet. In fact, like science fair, you're not allowed to have the apparatus. I was going to bring my galoshes. Galoshes are overviews that go over your shoes, and that's what I wore most of the time that I could, because it was rain suits, it was Kleenex all the time, and a 3-week cold for me and for some of the others. Our season went like this. In league play, 6 wins and 2 losses. Doesn't sound so bad, does it? I might not get all the numbers out because I'm a statistician. In addition to a historian, I'm also doing a little statistics. And you know that with statistics, you can do whatever you want with them. So 6 and 2. Okay, no more numbers. The other thing, in playoffs, we were second in the league, and we lost to BCS, who were number 3. So that was a little bit of a downer for us. But you know what? That's the way it goes, as Grenier was saying. Mr. Grenier was saying that sometimes you lose to a team that happens to be better on that day, and that's what happened. But the good thing is they beat Galt, the number 1 team, in the final. So good on them, and a little good on us if we can. Just a little one. Case in New Brunswick, again, terrible, and every year I kind of get up and I say, oh, did we ever get a bad pool? Well, this year, shocking, we got a bad pool. Here's how we got a bad pool. You always have one that's the top one in your round robin pool, but the night before the tournament, they tell us there's a replacement team coming in. I didn't know. What pool? Our pool. And who comes in? A local team that plays all summer, and that's now supposed to be our easy game. That's who we had to play. It's like, if you play hockey, it's like the Stanstead Spartans playing the Montreal Canadiens, or the Montreal Canadiens for the ladies, and that's kind of what we did. So we had it tough. Oh, our other person in our pool I didn't mention, the team that won the entire tournament. Oh, okay. So that's the way it went for us. Little bad luck, a little bad weather, but we worked hard and did what we could. A few stories, hopefully quickly. One is about Jeff Standage, who is my assistant coach. After 3:30, he's Dyke. You might know him. Is he awake? Yeah? Okay. Anybody looking for a good joke? Always go with the Dyke sleep. You didn't know that he had a concussion just before the start of the season, an actually very serious one in a car accident and so on. And I had an injury a couple of years ago, so our line this year was between his half brain and my half brain, we've got 1 person in this. So. And the other thing is, I just noticed this a few days ago, that some of you know he has a German Shepherd, a beautiful dog, and the dog's name is Boris. And I always thought it's because, he's German, so Boris. That's why he gave him that name. But I realized, doing some political analysis, that there's a former mayor of London who is now the External Affairs, Foreign Affairs for Britain, and his name is Boris Johnson. And I think he named his dog after Boris Johnson. We're in a place where you can't really see, but I'll show it to you after, as long as he doesn't rip it into 100 pieces. But this is Boris Johnson. It'll come around. I'll pass it to the dais and they can see who we're talking about here. Go down this way. Boris. Okay, the other person I want to talk about is Andre. No, Andre Bucatel. He's been with the school for 4 or 5 years, right? Grew up here. We're traveling down the 143. If I say that, you know which way we're going. We're traveling down the 143. We arrive in Lennoxville. We turn right at Subway. Now you're getting close, right? We're narrowing it down. Now we turn left over that little bridge, so you know we're not going to the other one, the blue one, we're going to that purple one, right? We turn left, we get across, there's a big sign that says, "Welcome to BCS." There is Grant Field, which he's probably played at 5 times. And he says, "Hey sir, who are we playing today?" Same game, the BCS funny. We won 1-0, and BCS probably should have won that day. Half-time, it's 0-0. We score in the second half, and we now know why. They're all talking on the side. I said, "Are they having water?" They go, "Hey, can I have one? Hey, can I have one?" They passed around a huge thing of fuzzy peach Maynards, and we're passing those out, so sure, athletes, that's what won us that game. The other one is Holy. I don't know if you know Holy. Does everybody know Holy? He's also an assistant coach with the team as of our last game, because he pulled a fast one on me and everyone else. He said, Sir, Patrick is hurt. He needs a sub." And I'm like, "I didn't see anything." "Okay, really? Okay, we'll get him in." So, Holy, they sub in, and Patrick comes out and he goes, "Everything okay?" He said, "He told us you needed a sub." "No, sir, I'm fine." The bicycle kick. Now, I won't do it here for, injury or something. Maybe I could get someone to step in. No? Anyway, everyone knows what a bicycle kick is? I'll do it this way. Bicycle kick is you go like this. You launch yourself into the air. You end up on your hips, and you kick the ball and hopefully either score or make a good play. So we had one of those, fantastic this season. I have to talk about it. The bicycle kick, it was Alexis Bernier. It was at Case. He went like this, beautiful, entirely missed the ball. On his bum in front of everyone, but like a Tim Hortons double-double, he kicked it again while on his back, and it beautifully goes on, and I swear to God, it was an assist to the goal. That play by Mr. Bernier. Good one. And the last one was laundry. Coaches, we do a lot of things, and some of it goes unseen. At the tournament, you have these uniforms, they're soaking wet, they're full of mud, and, we sort of do a division. And I said, "Docky, what do you want to do?" And he goes, "Oh, can you do the laundry?" And I said, "Okay." So, Docky took the other one, which was supervising study in a hotel. So I know where he was. I was just outside. If you've been to St. John, New Brunswick, our hotel was great, but you go 2 blocks this way and scary. On the road where I was, police officer sitting there. I go into this thing, all the windows are gone, plywooded out. It has no change machine, no soap, no bounce, and it's kind of like I'm saying, am I going to live through this event? So I go to a depanneur to get soap and all that. What's there? I swear to God, a forensic unit, a van for where there's been a crime. I'm going, meanwhile, Docky is... All right, with that, we'll wake Docky and we'll do our team pins. I'll ask the first four to come up together. That is the 1 sportsmanship and the 3 senior S's. In sportsmanship, it was interesting because sometimes it's one person that just stands out, and sometimes there's a bunch. Early on, we were thinking Patrick Young, who does all of the cleanup and help and all of those good things that people do. No, this is just the introduction, the honorable mentions. And the other one that came up was Mr. Grenier, who's always positive, on the bench with everybody, making sure that everybody feels that they contribute, and a very positive. But in the end, we had to go with the spirit of the team. If you remember, Mr. Ayat was the Iceman, spirit of the team. He worked hard. He got less playing time, but it improved through the year, through the season. He was our cheerleader, if you want to call him that. And his name is Mathieu Duval, so you come up and have. And the 3 senior S's are as follows. The hard-working man, we called him the Energizer Bunny. He was always, practice and game, working very, very hard. Great effort, and his name is Marty Lefebvre. The second is a quiet, steady player, lots of minutes, stoic, beat over an injury, and that is Joe Poulin. And the third goes to the toughest position, and that's keeper. Hard-working gentleman who would come before practice, work really hard in practice and game, and stay after for often hours. And you know what? If you've seen some games, he'll be the first to admit that in some goals, he didn't look great. But boy, in others, did he. Okay? And a lot of those happened in our season, and that's Patricio Tamayo. Teaching and learning. Set up. Anyway, major. By the way, captaining during the year, we rotated a lot, and in the last few weeks, we decided that we had co-captains, and they were Mr. Martel and Mr. Daniel, so there'll be no surprise. The first major, if the other guy that I mentioned before was the Energizer Bunny, this guy is our Swiss Army knife of our team. He can do everything and does, lots of minutes, a very important position in midfield, a lot of free kicks, a lot of goal kicks, and in fact he had to come back to take goal kicks and then get back to the middle of the field. So et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, to Phil Martel. Congratulations. And the final, again, no surprise, co-captain, a pure soccer skills player, great moves, skilled boot, great free kicks again, scoring some great goals off of that, and many goals for us this year. Congratulations to Olivier Daniel. I didn't mention Bobby Moore, but I don't think you'll want to pick one. I'll give Bobby.
Final program of the night, senior girls soccer, Mr. Varro.
So, start of the year, tryouts go well, practices go well. Then on September 12th, I'm in the hospital having a baby. Well, not me, but you know what I mean. Also on September 12th, the senior girls soccer team travels to BCS for the first game. God, I wish I could be in two places at once, but I can't, and Brooke says I have to be at the hospital. So I stayed, held her hand, tried to be supportive, push, breathe, push, breathe, push a little bit harder that I can get to this game, breathe. I love coaching this team. It's one of my favorite seasons. It's only my second year with them, but I love it. The girls are the best. They do everything we ask. But needless to say, I wasn't able to make it to that game. Thankfully, we were playing BCS. We won pretty handedly, 9-1. It was good. But judging our seasons by our wins, I think it's better to judge them by our losses. Most specifically, 4-0, 4-2, and 1-0. All against Galt, all in that order. It was a heartbreaking loss in the championships, but the girls should be proud of everything they accomplished this year. Again, we went 4-0 at the start of the year against Galt. We barely crossed half. We went 4-2 in the middle of the season. It was 2-2 at half. We were in every minute of the game. Finally, it was 1-0. We should have won that game. We outchanced Galt significantly in the first half, but we just couldn't buy a goal. It was an amazing effort by all the girls. Everybody exceeded our expectations. They worked hard all season. They improved. and that's all a coach can ask for. The girls came a very long way. We're proud of them. I hope they're proud of themselves. So, senior girls, please come get your pins. Okay, the awards. This is by far the worst part. As I just said, the girls worked hard. Each one of them did everything we asked of them. So it's hard to narrow down just a few. But we're going to name 2 senior S's and a sportsmanship award. You'll all come up together. So first, for sportsmanship, she came from playing on this junior second team last year. On the first day, she looked at us and said, I know I'm not very good, I probably won't play, but I just want to be part of the team. I'll keep the bench warm. So she showed up to practice and every game with the biggest smile on her face, always positive, always happy. She did get to play, and when she did, she made the most of it, to the point where it's the closest I've seen a player come to death while I've been coaching. Running till her last breath, begging for her puffer. And on the last play, before I'm able to sub her off, she gets beat on defense and has to chase the girl down the field, gasping for breath, just begging, take a knee, fall down, pass out, just don't die on me. Finally, we get the whistle and we're able to sub her off. She comes running off for her puffer, gasping for breath, sits down. 3 minutes later, how are you feeling? I'm okay, coach. I can go. Okay. We'll see. Thanks. So, sportsmanship award goes to Rosalie Caro. Our first senior S goes to a new player this year in grade 12. We're really disappointed we won't get her back. She's a workhorse. She moved around the field playing striker, mid, and wing for us. And we gave her one of the toughest jobs of keeping up with Tam all season. All she had to do was back her up, support her, get the ball. It's a job I definitely wouldn't want and probably couldn't do myself. So, congratulations, Kenya. And our second senior S of the night goes to a player who's played at the senior level for 4 years and has probably gotten zero recognition that entire time. She played pretty much every minute this year. I think she played every minute last year as well. But because she's on defense, probably gets zero recognition for it. But in every minute that she's played hard, she's played perfectly. So, for being the backbone of our back line and one of our team captains, congratulations, Emily Wilkes. Okay, for the majoresses, you can come up after you're announced. So, she split her time, but she went from scoring penalty kicks to saving penalty kicks. As I said last year, I still stand by it today. She's probably one of the best goalies in the league, and also a great defender. If you didn't get to see the home game against Masse, where girls were literally bouncing off her, you really missed the show. So, congratulations, Alyssa McPherson. Our second majoress goes to a player who played striker, midfield, wing, and defense. She took throw-ins and free kicks, penalty kicks. She has the ability to score from anywhere on the field, unless maybe Abby's standing in front of her. We could always count on her to do any job she was asked of, including moving back to defense right before the championship game, even though she'd never played it before. After only about 10 minutes of walking through positioning on a snow-covered field, she played an incredible game. She's smart, athletic, and always there for the team. Congratulations, Mackenzie. Finally, we have one more majoress and our team MVP. If you ever came to see a game, it's pretty obvious. Our entire offense and team play was built around her. Plan was to get the ball up to her and support her. She could control the ball for hours. Teams played her double-teamed, triple-teamed, and she still managed to control play. She's an amazing soccer player, an amazing athlete, and undoubtedly our most valuable player. Congratulations, Tamara.
Thank you, Mr. Varro, and thank you to all the coaches. That officially concludes our fall athletic assembly. Thank you all very much. Thank you all very much. Okay, Marc-Antoine. Thank you, Marc-Antoine. Thank you all very much for your attention and comportment. I'd like to leave you with a final quote. One final quote from John Wooden, a hero of mine, the most successful coach in NCAA basketball history. The best way to improve the team is to improve yourself. The MVP trophy winner for soccer and cross-country running, please stay behind for a yearbook photo. I have a couple good pieces of news for you. We were going to have second half of study, but because supper went late, we won't now. So there will be no study when you get back. And also there is free skate at 9:30. So, good news. So, please stand to let your coaches and teachers leave the church first. Have a great break. Go ahead, coaches.